Meanwhile, we have some breaking news to get to. President Trump making his first comments this morning on the daring rescue mission.
Yeah.
He just posted moments ago to Truth Social saying, "We have rescued the seriously wounded and really brave F-15 crew member officer from deep inside the mountains of Iran. The Iranian military was looking hard in big numbers and getting close. He is a highly respected colonel. This type of raid is seldom attempted because of the danger to man and equipment. It just doesn't happen." The second raid came after the first one, where we rescued the pilot in broad daylight. Also unusual, spending 7 hours over Iran. An amazing show of bravery and talent by all. We'll be having a news conference with the military at the Oval Office on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. God bless our great military warriors. So there's the president speaking out for the first time, confirming what we knew about the daring, bold, dangerous level that this rescue, both of them, entailed.
Yeah, you know, this administration, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and of course our president have set the bar very high
Indeed.
for daring rescue missions. I mean, here we are just off of the Maduro, you know, impeccably executed capture. Then we had the pilot who was rescued, again, under very unusual circumstances, as you said, in daylight. And then this one lost pilot who found his way into the mountains there in Iran, in the heart of enemy territory, with the Iranian regime placing a bounty on his head of up to $60,000, with all these Iranians searching for him, looking for him. He hides in these crevices, and somehow our amazing military is able to go in and capture him. And we have to thank our president for this Easter miracle, because he has not left the Oval Office. He is just clued in and determined to get him out, and boy, it happened.
It happened, and what's interesting, you heard Brent Sadler, if you're watching earlier, talk about the debacle in the desert, lay those, 46 years ago, all the way back in 1980. And so, you know, these things can go south, obviously, very, very quickly. And we had great concern here on the couch, as I'm sure millions of Americans did. What would happen if the Iranians happened to catch this particular Wizzo and then paraded him out for the world to see? And instead, we wake up this morning to fantastic news that the American military, and I thought Trey Yingst really nailed it in his last report. The coordination, the collaboration that it takes to pull off something like this is nothing short of extraordinary, and it is fantastic news and indeed an Easter miracle.
Yeah, and you mentioned Trey Yingst. With that, let's go to Trey live in Tel Aviv with the very latest. And Trey, we understand you have brand new reporting from a senior official. What can you tell us?
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with a senior U.S. official who provided new details on the intelligence behind the scenes to rescue this U.S. service member. The official telling Fox News it wasn't until Saturday morning that the CIA was able to confirm the location and that this was the individual they were trying to rescue. There was concern among the American government that this was an Iranian campaign to try and lure in U.S. forces and ultimately attack them. I understand, according to this official, that on Saturday morning, the CIA was able to locate and confirm the individual, at which point the plan went into motion. The CIA director made sure that the U.S. Secretary of War, the Joint Chiefs Chairman, and the president himself were aware. And I'm told that within 8 hours, U.S. planes were on their way to Iran, and within 12 hours, there were boots on the ground to rescue this U.S. crew member. As all of this was taking place, there was a deception campaign behind the scenes. I'm told by this U.S. official that the CIA leaked through multiple sources. They were trying to move a valuable package out of the country through a maritime exfil. This was meant to draw the Iranian army away from this area where the U.S. crew member was located. Ultimately, this was successful, and as a result, this was a historic operation that combined both U.S. intelligence and the military ability on the ground to get this U.S. crew member out of enemy territory. As all of this was taking place, remember, the Americans understood what would happen if the Iranians were able to close in and capture this U.S. service member, a crew member in the F-15 that was shot down on Friday. They know what happens when prisoners are taken in Iran. They are paraded through the streets. They use them for propaganda purposes in territory. So again, a lot of moving parts here, but Fox News can report, according to a senior U.S. official, that on Saturday morning, the CIA was able to locate and confirm where the U.S. service member was, just south of the city of Isfahan, and that is when this plan got into motion with those U.S. forces headed into Iranian territory to successfully evacuate their colleague. Guys?
Trey, you mentioned, which I found fascinating, that at one point they weren't sure if whatever that beacon was in his that was signaling to the United States that this was indeed the person, that it could. I mean, you can imagine you find a body or a live airman, and you could take that off and put, just make people think it's an American, but it's actually Iranians who have captured him. There's a lot of Americans right now waking up this Easter morning just hearing about this miracle. Could you break down for us a little more the operation, where they think he was in these mountains, how they found him, just the whole complex operation that it took to get this man out of there?
Yeah, Fox News has learned that this U.S. crew member was on the side of a mountain ridge, and despite having this beacon that all pilots and crew members have in case their planes are shot down, again, there was concern in the U.S. government and intelligence apparatus that this was an Iranian trap. And that is why it took time to confirm not only the location, but that this was indeed the U.S. service member who was lost inside enemy territory. Once that confirmation was made by the CIA, I am told it was communicated to all relevant parties, including the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, the Joint Chiefs Chairman, and the President himself. And again, Fox News can report that within 8 hours, planes were on their way to Iran. Within 12 hours, there were boots on the ground with hundreds of special forces taking part in this operation to locate and then safely exfiltrate the U.S. service member who was in that plane that was shot down on Friday. Remember, the pilot of the F-15 was evacuated by U.S. Special Forces on Friday. I'm told that the president was closely involved in this entire operation, and ultimately he was the one who ordered these special forces to go into Iranian territory south of the city of Isfahan and ultimately rescue their colleague. It was a very complex operation. It didn't go perfectly, but there were contingency plans in place, and that is the reason that U.S. forces were able to get in and successfully get out. Again, understanding that there were real concerns that the Iranians could have been trying to lay a trap to